commerce and industry. It is also about the fact that our community must take a stand and support one another. There's no reason for a $1 trillion economy that is ours. I'm speaking of ours, the Black economy.
How's that?
How important it is for us to recognize and be intentional about who and what we support. Entrepreneurs like Ricky, who is here this evening, demonstrate what it takes, but also are examples of how we can leverage, actually create collaborations that will change the wealth of our children and future generations. Ricky's brought along John. Ricky, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. Always good to see you.
Always good to see you. But you've been an entrepreneur for a while now, and we now have a new movement. Can you tell us and describe your journey as an entrepreneur?
Well, my journey as an entrepreneur started way back when I was in elementary school. I used to throw ad pack newspapers to make a little extra cash to try to buy, sneakers and things that I wanted to buy with my own money. And that was just my mom teaching me a sense of self and independence at a young age. And I really appreciated her for that. I hated getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning to throw those ad packs for about $50 a week, but it paid off because it instilled in me great independence and great workmanship. And that's how I got started on my independent journey as an entrepreneur. And then I jumped into selling candy and, middle school and things of that nature. But it was always about building my own business and being in charge of my own real estate.
If you can hear me, I can't hear and or see anyone. So hold on, was that for me or
no, that wasn't me talking. I think that was John. He went blank. He's having a little technical difficulty.
So I'll keep going. So basically, in middle school I sold candy. There we go. We got Mississippi on back. So in middle school I was selling candy, and then it turned from candy into cutting grass and things of that nature. But my entrepreneur journey as I got older, I was working at Food Line grocery store, and I just one day I just was like, you know what, this isn't quite for me. Like I love meeting the different people, but just the people that were a little older than me, just instructing me and not talking to me like a human being. They were talking to me kind of like just down to me, and I wasn't feeling it. So I just was like, you know what, Mom, I'm gonna try something else. I really think I can make this same money doing something independently. So that's when I started, my full entrepreneur journey before college. And then when I got into college, I really started, linking up with different friends from different walks of life. And I just kept going. And then I got a radio show after I came back out of sports, came back home, started a radio show independently at St. Augustine's University. From there, I started my clothing company. I named it after my daughter, Nyla Elise. And I just pushed it. I pushed it until it became equal with the radio show. And I had to pick a side. I had to pick the radio station or my clothing company. And it wasn't an easy decision because the radio station was up here and the clothing company was at ground zero. So what I did was I made the tough choice. And I just said, you know what? I fully own and control this entity over here. I do not control the radio station because the college controlled that. And it was getting harder and harder to do certain things that I felt like would push the needle and push the culture forward. So I let my friends continue to have the radio station because it kept them off the street, some of them. And another gentleman, he was running the board and stuff. So I let them have the show. And I went on my journey by myself with the clothing company. And I didn't know anything about selling clothes. First generation entrepreneur. I started sneaking into festivals, right? So I was sneaking. I would wait till the festival got real busy, and I would just pop up in a space. It worked until my company got big enough to where I had a line wrapped around the corner. They looked on their list and they were like, well, who is this with this line? And they started looking and the space wasn't mine. And I got kicked out about 3 or 4 events. And that was the time I got kicked out of this huge event called Women's Empowerment, right? So it's a huge event put on by K97.5 here at the PNC Arena. It's where the NHL hockey team plays here. And I told my buddy, I said, man, we really gonna do it today. We really gonna do it. So we had our plan, we snuck in, the line got wrapped around the corner, and then they came and got me, and I got kicked out in the pouring rain. They drugged my bags and everything out, and we were standing outside in the rain. And that was the point where I said I had to figure out a way to get in these things legitimately because we really got something here.
All right. How about you, John?
As far as my story,
Sounds good to me.
well, I've been in the footwear and apparel industry for almost 27, 28 years. Started out with Nike. I spent 25 years of my career at Nike in a various number of roles. Started out in customer service, and my last role at Nike was as the senior sales director for what was known as the City Specialty Channel of Distribution. That basically incorporated all of those specialty shops as well as boutiques. I left Nike in 2017, and I became the executive vice president and general manager of And One, the basketball brand. And during that time, we signed Kevin Garnett. He became our creative director. We then started signing athletes because at one point during the height of And One used to have 40% of the NBA. And so we decided we wanted to re-engage in that area. So we did. And we were able to sign Javon Carter, Daryl Macon, Fred VanVleet with the Toronto Raptors. We also, for a small amount of time, had Montrezl Harrell with the Clippers. So left there in 2019, December of 2019. And since then, I've been on my own with Aerial Consulting and consulting brands like Rick and his brand. We've been working with not only brands, but also retail outlets. But during my time at Nike is when Rick Moore and I became acquainted. And as you can see by this energy that he has that determination and just.
Oh, no, this is my first time meeting Rick.
Oh, is that right?
I've never met Rick before.
Okay. Well,
never seen him or his son or anybody else. We've never hung out. Yeah. I just hear about him. He's legendary,
Of course. Well, and rightfully so. So that's exactly how we came to be connected, and it was through my time at Nike. And since then, we've just been seeing how I could help him build what he's already done a tremendous job of establishing. So if there's anything that I can add on to that, it's just kind of the icing on the cake.
Well, you're rolling out, and this is a seat at the table. We don't deal with ifs. Infinite possibilities. We know all the three men here. We're very intentional.
Absolutely,
it requires intentionality. And for me, Rick, talk about Carolina. What's happening there? What's going on with this new brand? I was so excited. I never got any tea, but I'm looking forward to getting some tea.
Yeah, so it's actually it's taking off like a rocket. So basically, we're getting orders by the day, not just regular.
Up. They need to know exactly what this brand is.
So basically, Carolina culture. I wanted to create something that was, to give you a quick, long, short story. When I was younger, my dad's from West Baltimore. My mom's from Southeast Washington, D.C. I would go up and stay with my grandparents in the summer times in both of those metropolitan cities. And the kids up north always wore a badge of honor on their chest or on their chips on their shoulder, like they were from up north. And they were proud to be from those cities. And I got it, I understood, but I understood it was great things that my city and my state had to offer. So when I created this line, I said, I want to create something almost as symbolic, if not as symbolic, as the New York Yankees hat is to New Yorkers, right? And I wanted something that all walks of life could be proud of from the Carolinas, and people across the country that aren't even from the Carolinas would be drawn to. So I created Carolina culture. I felt like it was enough culture here within the two states that we could build this brand up to be something amazing, not just something special, but I mean something dynamic, something amazing. So in doing that, I liken it to Nike. Nike's a historic brand, and a lot of us, grew up on Nike. So in the sports world, so how brand Jordan started off underneath the Nike umbrella, then it was big enough to stand on its own. Carolina culture, the same type thing. The Carolina Culture logo and mantra was underneath the Nyla Elise umbrella. And then it started morphing into this beautiful butterfly and started flying on its own. So we started extending the arms of the brand, right? So we have sweet tea now, and we're getting into snacks, potato chips and snacks, right? So the last time I saw you, I didn't have the sweet tea, right? I was at your amazing conference rolling out. I had told you I had intentions on expanding the brand, and you as always encouraged me to do that. So I got with the local brewery, and we made our first batch and first run of Carolina Culture tea. Now, unbeknownst to me, Budweiser, the local Budweiser affiliate here, got a hold of me and asked me to come in so they could taste it. So in doing so, as soon as I walked in the office, we started tasting. We drank a can. He loved it, offered me an opportunity to do ride-alongs and introduce my product into the same stores he takes his Budweiser products, which was monumental. That just doesn't happen every day, right? This is the owner of the company. It's not a driver inviting me along for ride-along. This is the owner of the company. So I did ride-alongs. I got picked up in multiple stores on the spot, right? And what happened was the week later, I got a call from Budweiser saying, hey, stores are calling us back asking for that tea because it blew out of the doors. So I had to reverse and regroup, called Mr. Scipio. I told him what was going on, like he always does. He picked up the phone, got right on it, and was like, Rick, we have to strategize and come up with a plan because this moved faster than even I thought. And I'm a very, very, I had a big imagination. So I thought it was going to sell out, but I didn't know it was going to sell out that fast and that many people would be asking for it that quickly. So now we're in the process of relaunching, and Mr. Scipio can get more involved and talk about that. But we're in the process of relaunching for some even bigger opportunities. Like we're talking about going like up and down the East Coast, right? And then potentially going, not potentially, but going out, venturing to the Midwest and the West Coast. So Carolina Culture started as a clothing brand, and then it's a lifestyle brand, right? And then it turned into food and beverage as well. So I wanted to build an empire and not be limited to just being in a box for clothing. And that's where we're at with the tea right now. We have numerous celebrity support. DL Hughley plays a big part in always supporting me and trying my products, right? Tries my clothing, tries my tea. He invites me backstage and different things of that nature, always encouraging me to keep pushing the envelope forward. So I like to thank all of the fellow celebrities and common man and woman that support me, because they could support anybody in the world they want to, but they choose to support me. Just like when I met you, that's a legendary story in itself. I was telling Mr. Scipio in the Sheraton Hotel, downtown Manhattan, and we just happened to randomly meet, and it was a chance meeting of a lifetime for me.
For both of us. Come on, man. It ain't. Look. If you're an empty brother, if your spirit ain't right, I'm good on you. I'm good. When you see a young brother that has vision and drive, they stand a chance. And so why should I not encourage somebody who literally has a vision for themselves? That means I get to ride. So I've enjoyed that whole vision of seeing this idea from a thought to a thing. Most people can't convert ideas to reality. And that's what I admire. The other part, is just talk. I mean, we got lots of talkers. The evolution and growth of a brand, John, if I can call you John.
Absolutely.
How do you imagine the next, we're in a pandemic, as an entrepreneur, how are you shaping these next 6 months to 18 months? Because often retailers are that far in advance in what they do.
Yeah, so as we're looking at how retailers are considering the landscape, particularly as they look or choose to bring new brands into their doors, it's all predicated upon what story is that brand telling? And is that story authentic? And I think what ends up happening a lot of times, people think that they know the consumer, but don't really understand what the consumer story needs to be. And it has to be a consumer story that is, again, authentic to the brand. anybody can go out and say that they represent Carolina, but being able to hear that story coming from Rick and the passion in which he brings it, that was one of the things that drew me in. And one of the things that I told Rick was the fact that if I were just presenting that, it's one thing. The secret sauce in making this as successful as I know it can be is you. Now, how do we get that story, your story, and the story of this brand so that we can tell it in a much broader sense? And it's up to us to capture all of those elements that he just relayed to you over this meeting, and then put that out from a marketing perspective as we do sell in to different retailers. And then what is going to be those elements or POS, point of sale pieces, that will then convey that same brand message out to the consumer. Because if we're just another brand in a door, you get lost. But I think that there's enough here from a storytelling standpoint to really make Carolina culture stand out. I know there is. And I talked a little bit about my 25-year history with Nike. One of the things that Nike does well is an emotional marketing. You know, it's about tying into an emotion, because if it's solely about footwear, apparel, equipment, those things, there's a lot of people that carry those things. However, what is going to make yours different? What is going to make yours better? And how are you going to improve basically my life, right? So when you talk about a lifestyle brand, which is what Rick has created, what about supporting Carolina culture is going to give you that sense of self and that sense of, hey, this is bigger than me. This isn't about just throwing on a t-shirt, but when I put on this t-shirt, when I put on, you know, a sweatshirt, a hoodie, when I drink a tea, eat a snack, I know who I'm supporting and what that company is doing back for my community. And that's another key component that I think needs to be told a lot more, is what are going to be those give back moments back to the community that we're serving, not just harvesting from that community, but understanding that that community, to Rick's point earlier, they can choose to support anyone. The fact that they're choosing to support you, that they're voting with their dollars, and they deserve respect. So it's a lot going into it. It's a pretty robust strategic plan that we have in place that'll talk about our strategic priorities and our growth opportunities. But ultimately, what it boils down to is that being authentic with our story out to the consumer.
Sounds good, Rick. You've been mighty quiet, man. That's just unnatural.
Being respectful of the platform, brother. That's all.
No, I got you. I got you. But I want people to know that you're quite the visionary. I mean, I think that for all entrepreneurs, you know, I during this whole pandemic have had the opportunity to lose weight, thank God. And I remember talking to you as I was working out, and you were sharing, you know, because most entrepreneurs don't talk about what you go through. They tend to talk, and I got this money, and not enough. And oftentimes you have just enough to make you have to stop.
Yep. Well, I can tell you, well, I want to jump in right there because I wanted to tell the story of how we met. But to your point, that what you didn't know, when I met you, I only had enough money to stay 2 nights in the hotel, that hotel we were staying in. So I had to pick from the 3 nights I was up there for the event I was up there for was a Macy's competition, right? So I had to decide whether I was going to sleep in the lobby of a hotel the first night or the last night, right? So I chose the first night. Like, my wife didn't know that. Nobody knew that, right? I was on a journey and I was on a mission. My buddy was coming the next night. So he was prepared to stay 2 nights. I wanted to prepare for 3 nights and be up there and be in place in case something happened where I couldn't get where I lost a day. So with travel. So I paid a valet guy, and I picked the hotel, scoured around, picked the hotel that looked nice. He let me stay in the corner of I don't know if you know, but most people, if you're watching, New York City, hotels at the last minute can kind of be pricey, right? So I gave him $50, and he watched me. He looked out for me, make sure nobody stole my bags or things of that nature. And I stayed in the lobby, kind of tucked away behind a coat rack. But it's stories like that people don't know in this entrepreneurial journey. Like, it's been times I haven't had enough money to buy my son an ice cream cone, right? Like, at times, like literally in the Chick-fil-A line years ago, and I go to give him my card and it won't swipe, right? And I'm like, what's going on? When you're on this journey, you're pouring so much back into your company, you can lose track of finances, of different things. And it was just, I was so locked in, I didn't realize I had 21 cents in the account, right? So I thank God the next day an order came through and I was able to, a bigger order, and I was able to get back on my feet. But that gap, that time gap, it was critical, man. Like, some people would just, they wouldn't know what to do or how to respond in that situation. And I feel like it's all those things, almost getting locked up multiple times, going after celebrities, because I'm the type of person, I'm not going to try to go third party, right? I'm going to go straight to the source. So I've went straight to a Kevin Hart. I've gone straight to a Common. I've gone straight to Nia Long, all kind of, like, some of these people I grew up on watching them on the television screen, and then to see them in person, Steve Harvey, all these people, it's a different story once you get in front of them. A lot of entrepreneurs hit me in my DMs or send me emails, man, how do you get to the celebrities? How do you get to the celebrities? I'll tell you another cool story. I was in New York City and I met Issa Rae before Issa Rae blew up. This was like Issa Rae still on the internet type Issa Rae, right? But she was blowing up. I asked her, I said, hello, Issa, how you doing? She was rushing to catch a flight. I said, I'd like to give you, introduce you to my clothing brand, give you a couple pieces. She was like, no, that's fine. She's like, but I really got to catch this flight. Can you walk and talk? I said, this is what I'll do. I said, I'm going to come over the edge of the balcony and throw you the shirt. Will you catch it? Right? She could have easily said, boy, you crazy. I'm not catching no shirt. It's all these people here. So we get to the escalator, huge escalators, got 3 different escalators going up and down. And I said, Issa, you ready? I throw it. Issa said, go. So I throw it, and it opens up of all times like a parachute. So it starts going like this, over top of people's heads and everything. Sure enough, Issa snatched it right before it landed on the lady's head. 2 days later, she posted a picture wearing the shirt. Like, it's stories like that make this journey so worth it, right? And then a year later, she blows through the roof, right? Ava DuVernay, the same situation. Like, it's just people, African-American women have been so supportive to my journey. Like, I'm a mama's boy. I grew up single parent household with my mom, but it's just something about African-American women that they see me doing this or on this journey, and they have nothing but open arms and hand pushes to push me forward along, right? And then there's times I meet brothers like yourself in Mississippi, and it's like, I was taken back when I first met you, Mr. Steve, because I even tell you sometimes, like, man, thank you, man. Like, I truly, like, love you. And I know you look at me like, man, it's just what I do. But it's rare in our community that we have brothers like you that help, and like Mississippi, that'll give a brother like me a chance and not just look at me as some young guy with a billion ideas. And that means a lot to me, because through the rolling out conferences, I hope you've seen I know you've seen my growth from the first time we met in that hotel cafeteria or that hotel restaurant to now. And I know when you say you're proud of me, like, I know you're proud of me for a fact. Like, for a fact, when you saw me bring my son down to Atlanta for the Rolling Out Conference, and we were working that booth, and we were teaching the class, like, that meant so much to not just me, but to him. And he was able to see what Daddy does, and the work ethic, and the drive, and the determination, meeting the same stars and things of that nature. So man, this is like, your platform is one that I've been featured in Black Enterprise magazine. I've worked with Under Armour. I've worked with Pepsi. I've worked with Lenovo. Like, but I tell you, rolling out means something way more to me, because they cared about me before anybody else on the larger platforms just wanted my story. You wanted way more than my story, and I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, but in time, we tell our time. We have a seat at the table. And you've got to remember that I'm in Atlanta, and that I've been given a ton of seats that I didn't give myself. So when I see you, I see myself. So I can't be afraid of myself. So I have to love myself. So when we think of that as brothers, and you sit back and you say, well, did I today give something to somebody that didn't give me anything because you gave me everything? So that's just how I have to position me. You know, there was somebody really famous, rich producer. He says, you give too much to the Black community. But what he doesn't understand is the Black community gives me everything. So the thing for me is not to be praised by people just outside. It's like me making children's books for young children. I plan to just do Little Professor Sky. I never planned to do Adam Smart for little boys. I never planned to do Plush Crew for all my 0 to 5-year-olds. But parents, kids, fathers, and a little boy walks up and says, well, I love the book. I'm going to take the girl book, but will you make me a boy book? So then I have to make a little boy book for him. Is it something that I might see 10 years from now? Sure, but will it be there for kids 100 years from now? And that they will know that there was a gift left. And so when I see you, it's another young man that's watching you. He just ain't said he watching you yet. You just may not have met him yet, but you are him. And he's able to look at you and say, you know what? He going for it, so I'm gonna go for it. Because in this community, when they talk about systematic oppression, you either part of the movement to move a community forward, or you really at some point are gonna get canceled. People are gonna begin to cancel more Black people that they literally can now document and see and show Black people that don't love people back. And so for me, it's not one of those things, well, that's just a guy. No, you're a loving father. See, you know, when your brother is being a father, that's points. That's points. And they're like, I don't do events where people can't bring their children. That's just not me. It may not be planned, but if you're a mom and you got to bring your children with you at a rolling out event that I'm hosting, you got to be able to do that because my kids got to see greatness. And access is part of what has made it so that we will always be able to move forward. It isn't like I didn't get a call. I got a call today. Somebody want to give me some money. They want to give Rolling Out some money because what they think we are and know that we are in the community. So for me, that's all it was. There's another young hustler. And then you got to remember, I was in the shirt business. You were sitting there talking about it. I was once in the shirt business. I was once full-time selling, being printers at night. So, you know, from a printed brotherhood, t-shirt slinging, freaknik guy that was sitting next to the automatic, you know, buying the regs, going to Dalton, going to the Carolinas. I had already done that tour of duty. So when I see another young hustler, at least I know you know how to convert bread from $2 to 20, $2 to 10. And, you know, you can do that for the rest of your life, no matter what it is that you do. And that will feed a family. You know, it's a hustle, but at least it's a hustle that's legal, you know, and that's what I admire. So, you know, that's me. It ain't like I get a lot from being able to, your energy. I get a lot from your courage, because for all of us entrepreneurs, if you lack courage, this game is not for you. You will not get a seat hoping that somebody pulls out a chair for you. Ain't nobody gonna pull a chair out for you. You just waiting for that? No, you're gonna have to claim your chair, grab your chair, and sometimes make a chair.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not afraid to make a chair at all. So, but yeah, and I want to definitely tell you this too. Since our last conversation, I just actually finished a deal with 10 athletes foot stores. So I'll be featured. My product will be Carolina culture product, and three designs will be in 10 stores, 9 of them in Atlanta, 1 in Washington, D.C. And before we get off, I'll give all of your fellow ATLians the addresses so they can go and pick up our product. So the shirt with the fist, with the noose wrapped around it, film is my ammo, and access to the culture is not free. They'll all be featured across all over Atlanta, from the West End all the way to, you know, Greenbrier, all the way to Lenox Mall. They'll be all over Atlanta. So I'll give you the address before we get off, and for your fans. And then also we're taking another step in another direction. I'll let Mr. Scipio talk about this a little more and get a little more in depth. But Carolina culture is expanding into the team sports arena. So for people that don't know, that's a huge step for any brand. But I think we have the necessary pieces in place to have a huge impact in the team sports arena. And I'll let Mr. Scipio tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, this is as a part, I told you a little bit about my experience working in the specialty market, but I also used to manage pretty much all of the team business from East to West Coast for Nike as well. So that's the institutional team, colleges, universities, high schools, rec leagues. And so the thing that we felt like we could do is here you have Carolina culture and team sports and understanding what a big sports, not just fan, but athlete that Rick is. We figure, how do we marry the two and bring lifestyle into the institutional team sports space? So what you're going to see going forward is that we're currently in negotiations and working with a few team sports dealers and trying to figure out what that distribution model looks like, because it's a model that's never been done before. No one else has come in and done something of this nature. And so we're trying to figure that out. I think we've gotten a lot of support from some of the major manufacturers that are interested. Obviously, one of the things you talked about earlier was the fact that a lot of people talk, but being able to deliver. So we're going to be able to deliver, and thus I think we'll get a lot more support coming from all of those manufacturers. But we've gotten a lot of support today because it's something, as I mentioned, while we're not able to roll out the entire strategy now, it's something that's very unique. And I think that it will be that thing that others will try to replicate. But Rick came over and you talk about somebody hit the ground running and is making contact with coaches. And next thing I know, I'm like, whoa, we got to get a strategy in place so that we can actually deliver on some of the promises that we're making. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm sure Rick will come back and kind of hopefully be able to share with your viewers and readers how that's progressed, because there's a lot of good stuff going on there.
Well, John, it's not a hope. The difference with me and Rick is I'm not a maybe, I'm a guarantee.
All right, I like it.
It might be others. I think Rick knows me more than any other person who experiences, and I have a connection to. I don't change just because I put a suit on. I'm the same person when I
like it.
Put the suit on. I don't.
I'm with you.
I believe in my community.
Yep.
I live in my community, and it means a lot. So I don't try. I either do it or I don't do it. We say we're gonna get on a platform, and it ain't a thing. Rick, you got to get me some ads, digital ads that we can geofence for Atlanta.
I'll definitely do that. I'll do that this week.
Yeah, we need a huge. Obviously, they got some. So digital ads, at least one good print ad, and let's move forward. And those digital ads would be good. It's a good time, and let's figure out how to do a promotion. So, other than that, we can figure out our collabs and everything else that we need to do. But let's get it started so we can at least co-brand, tag the Foot Lockers or what is it?
Athlete's Foot.
So we can tag the Athlete's Foot, and individuals can at least follow the money. For our community, we need to know that those are options that we have, and we probably should do. We've got a morning show now, so we should probably do a design and dialogue conversation as well, just to kind of showcase the shirts and figure out some kind of promotion.
Okay.
So that's what.
And a good thing to also note is, talking about our community, is that the Athlete Foot franchisee that we're working with is a gentleman by the name of Isom Lohman. Isom is a graduate of Morehouse College and is one of the largest Athlete Foot franchisees. Is good man, and does a lot within the Atlanta community. So the doors that we'll be featured in will be his doors.
Good. We need to be in his doors, and he needs to be on Lunch and Learn so others can understand what it is to be in a business that people stand in line to get a product, which, just kind of goes over my head.
Having worked in that space for a long time, sometimes it still goes over my head too.
Yeah, I'm happy that it brings so many other people joy. But proud of you, Rick, and all that you do. Glad to see you have a new consultant to kind of give you the vision and inspiration and experience, because in this game, experience counts. I mean, that is such a key to success. Any crowdfunding happening anytime soon?
Well, I think that right now we're trying to grow organically before we start giving away any sort of equity.
Oh no, so, I like the Republic model. I do like the Republic model. I like their safe model. I think that their safe model has legs.
And I just think that there's so much opportunity, and the thing that I've seen that once you start bringing in money and too early, and you have to pay that back and show a return on investment, sometimes decisions that you make are about driving top line revenue before they're about building a brand. And those decisions might not always live in the same body. So if we look to build a brand, positive, the top line revenue will show up, and with that, investment as well.
Cool. Well, fellas, I appreciate hanging out with you. It's been 45 minutes with us brothers talking about it. Rick, you want to say something before we go? Because I don't want to miss anything in this moment. I hadn't seen you for a minute, but I do want to make sure you send your brother some ads. We do have a presence in this city, if none other. But obviously we have it in others, and we're having a ball now.
So the Athlete's Foot store that Mr. Isom Lohman owns will be on the Athlete's Foot store in the West End, Cumberland Mall, Stockbridge, Conyers, McDonough, Noonan, Stone Mountain, Auburn, Alabama, and Pentagon City Mall in Washington, D.C. So, and you can go to, you can find us at NylaElise.com. That's NYLAELISE.com. And I'll list all of the stores on my website as well for everyone who catches who watches this amazing platform. And I just like to thank everybody. I like to thank Rolling Out. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Munson. I'd like to thank Mr. Scipio, all our partners, and all of our fans, followers, supporters, all the supporters of this platform. I'm not new to this platform because you featured me a couple times, but I love coming on here every time. It's like the first time. So I'd like to thank everybody that follows us and continue to follow us, because like you said, Mr. Munson, when I was growing up, it was, hey, man, we can just make $1 million. Nah, brother, I'm trying to make $1 billion now. So I'm not trying, I'm gonna make $1 billion. We're gonna do that. And I want you to hold me to that, because you always push me and the culture forward. And that's what our eyes are on the prize right now, as far as taking this company to heights that people only dream of.
Well, I got you. Get those ads. We'll figure it out. TJ will make it happen. But we definitely want to make sure that we're putting something on a geofence. Obviously, even in DC, this is a good moment. Got some inventory, so let's put it together so we can have that. Just email TJ and he'll send you the ad sizes and the likes.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen, for all you out there watching the seat at the table, I want you to support Nyla Elise and obviously Carolina culture. This has been a great conversation with both Ricky and John, but it's important that you support Nyla Elise when they go to retail, so that you can pull through those shirts and showcase that our community can stick together, represent together. And as always, you do not have to be in the street, but you do have to be in the struggle. I'm Munson Steve. This is a seat at the table, and we'll see you all. Much love to both of you. Peace.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.